Citizens of this republic, I once led armies in revolution. Now I return in spirit, not to command, but to remind you of the promise we made. 249 Julys have passed since our declaration was cast into the world, not as a mere letter, but as a thunderclap of liberty. I remember well the spirit in that hall in Philadelphia. It was not a room of firebrands and fanatics, but of farmers, merchants, lawyers, men of every stripe bound by one conviction, that all men are created equal, and that government exists not to rule, but to serve. We did not declare independence lightly. We pledged our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. That was no empty flourish. We knew the gallows waited should we fail. But we also knew that the yoke of tyranny once tolerated becomes habit, and we had grown tired of bowing to distant kings and unjust laws. What we declared in 1776 was more than rebellion. It was an awakening, a covenant with the future. We did not merely cut ties with a monarch. We lit a torch for all the world to see. The principles etched in that parchment were not written for a season, but for the ages. And yet, here I am, awakened once more in spirit, looking upon a nation still bearing our name, but often straying from our nature. You repeat the words life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but too often they are recited without reflection. What was once a bold defiance of inherited power has, in places, become a hollow ritual. And what we once called self-evident truths now seem subject to politics, profit, and pride. The Declaration spoke of all men being created equal. And yet, for generations, many were born into bondage on American soil, a stain we could not erase in my lifetime, and one whose shadow lingers still. We proclaimed the right to alter or abolish governments that destroy liberty. But today many dare not even vote, numbed by disillusion or drowned in noise. Others mistake liberty for license, shouting down their neighbors while crying censorship. They confuse disagreement with betrayal and mistake loudness for leadership. The power of the Declaration was never in its ink, but in its integrity. It drew from natural law and moral clarity. It demanded courage, not comfort. Unity, not uniformity. And above all, it called forth a people willing to govern themselves not with chaos, but with character. Now, I ask you, fellow citizens of the republic I once helped raise, how fares that character? Do you teach your children that freedom is not inherited like land, but earned like respect? Do your leaders aspire to service or merely cling to office? Do your laws uplift the dignity of man, or do they twist to serve the few? The test of the Declaration is not in parades or fireworks. It is in how you treat the least among you. In how your justice is applied, not just written, in whether truth still matters in your councils and your courts. The British crown we cast off in 1776 is long gone, but I warn you, tyranny wears many faces. It may now come not with a scepter, but with slogans. Not with taxes on tea, but with algorithms that divide, or laws that deny. Yet I do not despair, for I have also seen the spirit of 1776 rekindled in citizens who speak out not in hatred, but in hope, in young people who study the founding not to flatter it, but to fulfill it, in every quiet act of courage, where the dream of liberty lives on. Remember this: the Declaration of Independence is not a monument. It is a mirror. It reflects back not just who we were, but who we are still called to be. You were not made to be subjects. You were not made to be spectators. You were made to be stewards of a nation that was, and must remain, an idea greater than any man or moment. So I say to you now, in this strange modern age, let July 4th be more than a holiday. Let it be a reckoning, a rededication, a renewal. And should you wonder what freedom means in your time, read the Declaration not with your lips, but with your life. Then and only then shall we be worthy of that sacred title. We, the people. We, the people. I was born a subject, became a soldier, and died a citizen. Let that be the path of every American still. The Declaration is not a monument. It is a mirror. Read it not with your lips, but with your life.